AITA for changing my name after my husband died. My husband and I were married for 3 years. He died in a car accident 8 months ago. It was absolutely devastating. When we got married, I took his last name. I didn't want to that badly but talked myself into it. Sharing a family name is so nice and I wasn't interested in hyphenating. Getting used to a new name is weird. I really love my family and they have been a huge support through this whole ordeal. I do like my husband's family, but I was never particularly close to them. I made the decision to go back to my maiden name. Since my husband is gone, we have no kids and I'm not close to his family. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It's my name. I have to live with it and I want to share a name with my family who are super important to me. My former in-laws freaked when they found out. They said I was being disrespectful to my husband's memory and to them. They said it looks like I'm trying to erase him from my history. Some of my husband's friends expressed disappointment as well. I think that's an overreaction. I will always love and miss my husband. I don't think my last name changes that. AITA? Is it disrespectful? Edit. This really blew up overnight. Thank you all for your kind words. In the comments I mentioned that I changed my name on Facebook. The only people who knew about my name change before this were my mom and sister. I didn't include this info in the original post because it didn't seem important. If my in-laws had an issue with it, they didn't express that to me. They are upset about the name change itself. I'm not sure what the protocol is for changing your name. I didn't tell anyone ahead of time when I changed it the first time. Making some announcement to people like you do when you get engaged or pregnant didn't seem right since this isn't exactly a life-changing event. But I hear all the comments on the subject. Thanks for the input and advice. NTA, sorry for your loss. NTA by any means. Based on reading tons of Reddit threads about how in-laws behave when a spouse dies, it seems incredibly common for in-laws to start to view the widowed spouse of their deceased son or daughter as a sort of shrine to their deceased child. They probably don't realize they're doing it, but they're expecting you to stay the same and be the living memory of their son, as if you're a shrine to him and can never move on with your life. Don't buy into that. You don't owe it to them to keep his last name, and you don't owe it to his memory to keep his last name. I am sure that you memorialized him in your heart and in your life just fine without needing to keep his name. NAH. They are overreacting. Probably out of grief. I'm not inclined to call that TAH, though. Your love for him isn't about your name and there's nothing wrong or even insensitive about changing it. Peace to you. NTA, it's your name and it's really selfish of anyone to imply that you're wiping someone away over a name. They have no idea what you're going through. I'm sorry that you lost your husband. It is not disrespectful at all. I have been married over 30 years and still regret taking my husband's name. Frankly, I find the whole practice absurd. NTA, them finding it disrespectful just solidifies that taking the husband's last name perpetuates the patriarchal concept that men own the family. You're definitely not the asshole, and you changing it back proves nothing on how much you don't love your husband. I'm so sorry. It's disrespectful of them to accuse you of such a thing. NAH, you have a right to move forward and this is a good way to do so. I understand his family's feelings. I'm sure it's hard for them. Perhaps you weren't very close but you are part of their family and they may feel they are losing you too. Not to mention losing what could have been grandchildren, nieces, nephews. I'm sure in time they will understand. You're a person, not a tombstone. NTA. NAH. They are grieving and are upset that you don't want to hold on to every aspect of your husband. It feels disrespectful to them. I find it odd that you rush to tell them if you say you weren't close. I think you also need to remember they lost a son too. Neither of you are being unreasonable. You are one of the last things they have about their adult son. That last name is something holding you back from moving on. You are all still grieving, and I don't think that anyone is wrong for how they are feeling. It's understandable that his in-laws and friends may feel upset on his behalf, as grief triggers all sorts of varied emotions. It's your name, though, and it's your decision. It's your name. Make it what you want. I can understand the family being upset, as they lost a brother, son, cousin, uncle, etc. too. You do what you need to do to grieve, and if it upsets someone else, then so be it. I almost wavered in the fact that you're calling them your former in-laws. If that's the way you want to look at it, that's fine, but that can be so hurtful to people who also loved your husband. That he died and now you're done with them. Maybe it's not so much the name change, but the fact that you do like your husband's family but refer to them as former in-laws is the kind of attitude that's making them upset. Your husband's family and friends are not being reasonable. You don't have an obligation to be a living, breathing memorial to your husband. Your name can be whatever you want it to be. They're definitely assholes, but they also lost a son. You didn't even inform them of changing your name or the decision behind it. They had to find out on their own. That must hurt. Why did you not mention that they found out you changed your name on Facebook? Not telling them beforehand and them finding it out of the blue definitely makes you emo. My husband will have passed 10 months ago tomorrow, 01/23, and I haven't changed my name solely on the fact I have 3 kids with him. My situation is surely unique, but don't let them influence your decision. Edit: I can't spell unique. Until death do us part, it's even part of the liturgy. I mean, I have no idea if you're religious or not, but even from a religious perspective, you're in the clear. You're not married anymore. Death parted you, man. This is heartbreaking. And while I can understand your in-laws being upset at you changing your name, it's absolutely not their place to weigh in on such an intensely personal decision. I'm very sorry for your loss, NTA. Massive hugs. I'm sure everyone is hurting, but that's no excuse to be controlling of you. What would they have done if you got remarried? And I'm sorry you are receiving negativity about your name in this time of grief. I suspect they're focusing on this and dealing with their own grief, but because it's hurting you I went with NTA instead of NH. I'm so sorry for your loss. However trite I'm sure that feels to you at this point. I can't even imagine what you've been going through, and you deserve to deal with it however is best for you. NTA, so sorry for your loss. But your last name is exactly that, yours. You don't need anyone's permission to change it back. I mean, do what you want. It's your name. But I would also think was rather hurtful that you did that. I couldn't imagine changing my name back if my husband passed. That's the name you shared as a family unit. It's not about his family. But again, that doesn't make you an asshole. It's your name. I don't want to judge. Just give you a virtual hug and wish you the best. NTA. I've been married over 20 years and miss going by my maiden name. You do not owe anyone the rights to your naming. You chose to let your husband give you his name, but you are no longer married to him. It's sad the family doesn't agree with your decision, but that is not your problem. NTA. This is nobody's business but yours. Greater than my former in-laws freaked when they found out. They said I was being disrespectful to my husband's memory and to them. Do they also want you to be a nun for the rest of your life? Info. I'm curious how the in-laws and the friends found out about this change. I would imagine you were on a first-name basis at the time. How would this even come up? NTA, one young widow to another. You will find that your former in-laws will have many opinions about how you should be living your life in the years after. Changing your name back may just be reminding them that life goes on, even after horrible things happen, and many people resent and resist the reminder. You do not have to be a living memorial for the rest of your life, which is what I think people want when they criticize any widower for changing any aspect of their life in the couple of years following their bereavement. Too soon, especially the broadcasts over Facebook. Grief can make you latch onto things. Changing your name doesn't mean you loved him less, but they're going to cling to every little thing that was evidence of him being alive. Be kind and gentle to them. They lost a child, which is such an unimaginable pain. I can't say that I would ever think about changing my last name if my husband was killed. That's my choice, and I can't say I agree with your choice. But it's your choice. I think this is one of those things where if someone is killed, society expects you to act a certain way as normal, and if you don't act that way, then you didn't love your spouse. To me, that's your choice, and I won't judge, but I fully can understand how the family feels the way they do and would probably feel the same way. Just a very sad situation overall for everyone. Sorry for your loss. NTA. These people's opinions sound very selfish, as they don't even consider what you want. NTA. You get to choose how to identify yourself and how you wish to honor your late husband's memory. But I would have waited a full year out of respect, just because at least in my culture, 1 year is the designated mourning period. That being said, it's your name and your life. Perhaps you can smooth things over by doing something else to honor his memory if you want to keep relations with your former in-laws. NTA, it's your name. You can change it if you want. It isn't up to them to make your decisions. NTA, a surname gives us a sense of belonging. You need that now more than ever, and my deepest condolences. NTA. I won't lie, my gut reaction is I think it's weird, but I don't find it disrespectful. I'm giving husband's family and friends some leeway 'cause they're grieving. I'm assuming that he had no children at all, so they're probably feeling the sting that he's not being continued by anybody. Except you, of course, 'cause you had his name. With that gone, there's no more continuation. And it probably stings to have him further removed from the world around them. It's like that moment you call a lost one's phone number and it stops working. That hurts 'cause it's further proof that they're really not around anymore. I'm really sorry for your loss, but your healing and ways of moving on are your own. NTA. His family and friends should understand that keeping his name might be a painful reminder for you to constantly have, and support you in whatever decision you make about your name. NTA. They are just taking their grief out on you. Unfortunately, some people expect widows to forego all identity to be living monuments to their deceased husbands. It's your name. You can do whatever you want with it. It's not your husband's name. It's not your mother-in-law's or your father-in-law's name. It's yours. It became yours the day that your husband gave it to you. Like any other gift, it is yours to do what you like with. It's your property, yours. You are allowed to keep it. You are allowed to change it. You are allowed to do anything in between, without consulting anyone. Because it's yours. NTA. NTA. It sounds like you took his name as a gesture to him. Changing back to your own name is not disrespectful. Your in-laws are projecting their own discomfort with grieving onto you. It's a pretty common phenomenon for ILs to think the grieving spouse is not experiencing grief appropriately. You're not doing anything wrong. NAH. Though, traditionally widows tend to keep their spouse's last name after death and it's seen as respectful, you are in no way obligated to do so. NTA. Whether you change your name has nothing to do with your feelings for him. It is none of their business. NTA. I can understand the parents freaking out. It's one more reminder that their son is gone, and maybe they somehow think this means that OP has already moved on. Regardless, that does not excuse them attacking you. I'm so sorry for your loss, OP. You deserve to move forward and process this however you need to. NTA. First off, I'm very sorry for your loss. Second, it's just a name. It takes nothing away from your feelings or the time you had together. I'm sure everyone is hurting, but it isn't very kind of them to treat you like that. You lost someone too. Sometimes, in grief, people forget that. NTA. Since you had no children and were not particularly close with his family, I don't see the problem. Everyone handles grief differently. If this is something that helps bring you some peace in the aftermath of a horrible tragedy, then more power to you, sister. I am terribly sorry for your loss. P.S. If I were in your situation, I would perhaps reach out to his folks. Tell them what their son meant to you. How devastating this has been. That you are taking steps to heal. No rational person will fault you for this. Everyone else should be told to go kick rocks. It is none of their concern. NTA. No one get to claim you and name for themselves. And if changing your name means erasing him from your life, that kind of implies that it was only in name that he was your husband. I am going to assume your relationship with him was much more than just sharing a name with him. I get your in-laws might feel slighted, but in the end it is your life and the name is one you have to live with. Not your in-laws. It's the family name you love and associate with the love and support you get from them, and no one should be shaming you for identifying or with it now that your husband has passed. My best to you moving forward. Nah. Grieving happens on a different timeline for everyone. Some of those people just aren't ready yet. You didn't do anything wrong. Sorry for your loss. NTA. Tragically, you are no longer married to your husband. You need not continue to bear his name. A woman shouldn't have to take a man's name anyways. It's an antiquated tradition. You're allowed to have your own identity, especially if it helps to ease your pain. NTA. NTA. I've been married to my second husband 18 years. If he passed, I'd go back to my maiden name, because my children are grown and married. I don't know how his family would feel, but I really won't ever be part of their life then. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to hear more of the best posts.